Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's wonderful to see you here this morning, here in person, and those of you who are joining us via Zoom. Let's all those here in the sanctuary give a little quick wave to those who are remote with us. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
So welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Delaware County. I'm the Reverend Peter Friedrichs. I'm here serving you this morning with Chrissy Bushyager, our Director of Religious Education, and Bob Rowland, our Music Director. The UUCDC Choir has prepared some music for us that has been pre-recorded, so we'll look forward to that this morning. For those of you who are joining us online via Zoom, after the service, you can join a breakout room and have a virtual coffee hour and be in relationship with those around you virtually. And unfortunately, we don't have that opportunity here. And Chrissy, we haven't started the sanctuary occupation by youth after service yet, have we? In other words, people need to clear out. Yeah. So the sanctuary space at the end of the service needs to be emptied out so that our youth can meet in here. So we invite you to, maybe if you want to mingle safely outside, it's not that cold out, but we don't have coffee hour just out of an abundance of safety and caution. We appreciate you here in the sanctuary wearing your masks. We will not be singing songs. That Bob will be leading us in song, but you feel free to hum along, and we've chosen a couple of hymns today that involve movement, so we do invite you to move and join in the singing that way. If you are at home or somewhere else remote via Zoom, feel free to sing as loud as you would like, and maybe we'll hear you from here. I don't know. Chrissy, I know you've got a couple of additional announcements as well.
Yeah, I just want to remind everyone that we have a Deck the Halls event next Saturday. If you've been around the church for a while, you know that we normally do Deck the Halls as part of a Sunday worship service. But next Saturday, we're going to do Deck the Halls here from 11 to 1. We're asking people to sign up for slots so that we can manage how many people are in the building at a time. All of that information is on our website, in the digest. You can sign up for your slot. There'll be arts and crafts stations that you can go around to. It's a time when people can drop off food for the food bank, warm coats, also going to Media Food Bank. If you did the Adopt a Family program this year, you can drop off your gift cards. And our youth group, the Yuckies, will be selling soup like they always do. Have you missed the Yucky soup sale? I know I've missed Yucky soup lunches. So Yuckies will be there selling soup to go in to-go containers. You can take it with you, have it later. And they'll also have a bake sale that day. So I really hope that people come out from 11 to 1, sign up in advance, and join in with Deck the Halls. The other thing that we want to talk about is a survey was sent out to the congregation via email. It's also on Facebook and probably the website. We're asking people to respond to that survey. It's about vaccination status. It helps us to have a sense of the percentage of our population who are vaccinated so that we can make better decisions about how we do worship in person, how we have events and things like that. So it would be really, really helpful to our COVID task force if you could respond to that survey as soon as possible, like the minute you get home today, if you haven't already done it. All right, that's all I have.
So I wasn't meaning to be rude while Chrissy was speaking. I was actually getting on our Zoom link so that I can know who's joining us by Zoom. We have almost 60 people who are joining us by Zoom today. And so I would encourage you, if you are joining us from home, please as well, either during or after the service, please fill out that survey. It's very important so that we know how to respond, particularly during the month of December when we have so many special activities going on, that we want to make sure people are safe. And we know that there is a lot going on with the virus right now. And so we need to make informed decisions. And telling us about your vaccination status helps us to make decisions that can help keep our community safe. So with all that said, let us begin our worship with our opening hymn this morning. It's Peace Like a River. Bob will play it for us. I invite us here in the sanctuary to rise in body or in spirit so we can join in the movements that go with Peace Like a River. And as I said, at home or wherever you are virtually, feel free to sing right along.
I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I got peace like a river in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I got peace like a river in my soul. I got peace like a river. I got peace like a river. I got peace like a river in my soul.
Please join me as we recite our covenant. You can sit. That's fine. Enriched by our differences and joined together in our search for meaning, we covenant with ourselves and each other to seek truth in a spirit of love, to strive for justice, and to serve others with a joyful heart.
It is a great source of joy for me to now invite Mary Beth Hoffman to come light our chalice today. Mary Beth joins us all the way from down East Maine. It's great to have you here with us again, Mary Beth, such a longtime beloved member to light our chalice today. And I offer you the words of the Reverend Gordon McKeeman, Minister Emeritus of the Akron, Ohio Unitarian Universalist and a past president of Star King School for the Ministry. He writes, "Deep calls unto deep, joy calls unto joy, light calls unto light. Let the kindling of this flame rekindle in us the inner light of love, of peace, of hope. And as one flame lights another, nor grows the less, we pledge ourselves to be bearers of the light wherever we are." Thank you, Mary Beth.
You are so welcome.
I invite all of us, both here and on Zoom now, to enjoy our centering song, bring ourselves into that deeper place of worship.
There is a
It's such a lovely gift that the choir offers us their recorded music each week. And so we rest in the love that surrounds us, the love that we feel in this room, the love that those who are distant from us hopefully feel coming from this room, that greater love that is always around us. One of the ways that we hold each other in care is by sharing joys and sorrows when we gather each week. We do that here in the sanctuary by dropping stones into a bowl of water, the stones representing the joy or sorrow that we have, and the water representing the love and care of this community. Just as the stone is surrounded by the water, so is the person who drops it surrounded by our care and compassion. For those at home who would like to share a joy or sorrow, you may do so in the chat. Please just put it in the chat so that those who are with you in that virtual community are aware of the joy or sorrow in your life. So I invite now those who are here present to come drop a stone of joy or sorrow. I will drop 2 additional stones, one for all the joys and sorrows that are with members of our community who are with us virtually, and the other for members of our community who are unable to join us today. And several years ago, we started a tradition which I wish we did not have to continue. That tradition is to drop stones for victims of mass shootings in our country. And of course, this week, we are acutely aware that the Oxford High School in Oxford, Michigan, suffered the loss of 4 of their students to gun violence. Tate Meyer, age 16, Madison Baldwin, age 17, Justin Schilling, age 17, Hannah St. Juliana, just 14 years old. I drop these stones in remembrance of them, in grief with their families and friends, and in hope that someday we needn't do this anymore. I'd like to offer up a prayer now that was written by my colleague, Reverend Sarah Lenzi, who is the pastor of the UU congregation in Ridgefield, New Jersey. Some of you may have worshiped there virtually over the past year. The season of light has begun, candles in windows, the world ablaze with twinkling lights that insist on hope and happiness, even in a time that is cold and bleak. Around us, the world presses, insisting on death and on hurt, disease tearing through communities, bullets tearing through the flesh of children, judgment tearing through bodies that bring life, hunger and lack and greed tearing the world apart. And day after day, as the night deepens, tears press through eyes that have seen too much, known too much grief and sorrow, press from bodies that have so little left to give, beyond the tears that say more than words ever could. The heart aches, the heart breaks. Hope is hard to hold on to. Possibility seems a million miles away, just a hint of the promise that once was, like the light of the stars we catch in the dark, dead already beyond our knowing. Joy is hard to hold on to. And yet each night, again, we take the shamash and we light candles, small flames, one by one, defiant, free. Each night, again, we flip the switch that illuminates a pine, hundreds of tiny lights, abundant, joyful. Each night we bring the stars into our homes. We take the old, ancient wisdom, no matter how this time wants to make it fade, and we hold it fast, declaring with each flicker that in spite of it all, even when we can barely catch it, hope exists. Declaring with each flicker that in spite of it all, even when the tears can't stop falling, joy exists. With each of the millions of lights we kindle, determination comes, warmth grows, love is known, and happiness begins to bloom. So we light them. As we have before and as we will again, we never stop kindling the flame. So let us together kindle the flame of our chalice and sing together Spirit of Life. I invite you here to rise in body or in spirit. Join in the movements. We won't be singing here. If you're at home, feel free to sing along. We begin with the motion of our chalice flame. Thank you. You may be seated. Now is the time in our service where we gratefully accept your generous gifts to support this church and its work in the world. We do that, as you know, virtually now using smartphones and the text to give phone number that you'll see on the screen here and at home. Please use that, text the amount that you would like to give to the phone number that's printed on your screen, that's shown on your screen. We gratefully receive any of your offering today. For those here in the sanctuary, if you would like to write a check There are donation boxes at the back of the sanctuary that you can drop your check off on your way out the door after the service. Thank you for your generosity.
Good morning. I'm going to tell a version of the popular picture book Owl Moon by Jane Yolen. You may be familiar with this book. The illustrations, some of which you will see on the screen, are by John Schoninger. This is a beautiful book to read. It's a Caldecott winner, and I've adapted it for telling. Late one winter night, a little girl and her father went out owling. They went out looking for owls and listening for owls. It was a very still night. There was no wind. The trees stood like statues. The moon was very bright, but there were almost no sounds on this quiet, still night. The little girl was bundled up against the cold, and her feet made little footprints in the snow with a soft, crunching sound. This was her first time going owling, and she had waited a long time for this chance. She tried to be as quiet as she could, because her father had told her, when you go owling, you must be quiet. They walked across open fields, and she watched as her father's shadow fell on the snow in the moonlight. After a little while, they got to the edge of the woods, a long line of pine trees frosted with snow. She tried to be as quiet as she could be. They stopped, silent and watchful, and her father raised his hands and called out, "Hoo, hoo, 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 hoo." That echoes really nice in this space. You can do it with me quietly if you want. Hoo, 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 hoo. There was silence. The girl and her father walked on into the woods. The cold stung her nose and her fingers, despite her warm scarf and mittens, but she remained quiet and kept moving, because when you go owling, you must be quiet and you must make your own heat. The trees and the woods were dark, and the girl wondered what kind of creatures were hiding there in the dark shadows. But she did not ask. When you go owling, you need to be brave. They came to a clearing, and her father called out again, "Hoo, hoo, 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 hoo." The girl listened so hard, but it was still silent. Then, as her father raised his hands to call again, they heard it in the distance. Hoo, 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 hoo. Her father called back, "Hoo, hoo, 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 hoo," as if he and the owl were having a pleasant conversation over dinner or the weather or about the woods. The owl's call came closer from high in the trees at the edge of the meadow. Nothing moved. And then suddenly a shadow detached itself from a tree and flew overhead. The shadow hooted again. Hoo, 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 hoo. The girl's father turned on his flashlight and caught the owl just as it landed on the branch. For 1 minute, 3 minutes, maybe even 100 minutes, the girl and the owl stared at each other. Then the owl lifted off the branch and flew into the forest. "Time to go home," her father said. And the girl, who knew she could now talk or laugh or dance with joy, was silent as a shadow. When you go owling, you don't need warmth or anything but hope. The kind of hope that flies on silent wings under a shining owl moon. Thank you for listening to my story.
hope you caught the cameo of Craig Harris's cat at the very end of that. It makes the whole thing. And I don't know, Chrissy, if we cleared owl calling with our pandemic church task force. So we'll have to check that out for next time. But thank you for participating. In her collection of Christmas-themed writings titled Miracle on 10th Street, the author, Madeleine L'Engle, offers us this poem. Observe and contemplate. Make real. Bring to be. Because we note the falling tree, the sound is truly heard. Look, the sunrise. Wait, it needs us to look, to see, to hear, and speak the word. Observe and contemplate the cosmos and our little earth. Observing, we affirm the worth of sun and stars and light unfurled. So let us, seeing, celebrate the glory of love's incarnate birth and sing its joy to all the world. Observe and contemplate, make real, affirm, say yes. And in this season, sing and bless wind, ice, snow, rabbit and bird, comet and quark, things small and great. Oh, observe and joyfully confess the birth of love's most lovely word. As we enter into the season of Advent, that time of waiting and anticipation that precedes the arrival of Christmas, I've been thinking about the idea of incarnation. Incarnation. In Christian theology, the incarnation with a capital I, refers to the notion that Jesus was the embodiment of God himself. The incarnation proclaims the good news that God chose to come to earth, to take on human form, to breathe the air we breathe, to walk the ground we walk, to eat the food we eat, to suffer the pain we suffer, to face the death we face. The incarnation, capital I, that Jesus was God, one and the same, undivided, is a central tenet of Christian doctrine, and one that early Unitarians rejected. Before Unitarians were called Unitarians, they proclaimed that God is God, and humans are humans, and never the twain shall meet. Jesus, they said, as many of us do today, was purely human, and God exists in one form only, one distinct and distanced deity. So while our Christian siblings turn their eyes in this season to the capital I incarnation, what Madeleine L'Engle calls the glory of love's incarnate birth, I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about incarnation in the less godly, but no less holy sense. The lowercase I, if you will, of incarnation. The incarnation that we are called to today and every day. I'll start by noticing that most of us spend a lot of time in our heads. If you're like me, you worry a lot. Can anybody relate? Yeah? We worry about what the future holds, about what's going to happen with this awful virus that keeps mutating and resurging, about climate change, about school shootings, about systemic racism, about you all can fill in the blanks, I'm sure. We're distracted and preoccupied by matters both great and small. Anxiety is at epidemic proportions, especially, it seems, these days, and it pulls us back to the past and flings us also into the future. Our vast mental capacity is certainly a great gift, to be sure, but we live so much of our lives in our heads that we are what I would call embrained beings. Embrained beings. And in contrast, incarnation, that lowercase I, incarnation, calls us to experience. When we are incarnate, we are in our bodies more than we're in our heads. We are literally embodied beings, fully present to what is happening all around us. And as incarnational beings, beings with bodies born to see and taste and touch and feel and smell, we walk through the world alert and alive to the miracle of life in all its beauty. To be incarnate is to, as Madeleine L'Engle said, observe and contemplate, make real, bring to be. The father in Chrissy's story is teaching his child this very lesson as they quietly stand amidst the shadows on a cold winter night, searching for that elusive owl. When we are incarnate, we allow our senses to teach us, to guide us toward understanding our place in the world. And I'll point out that as Unitarian Universalists, one of the essential sources of our faith, and this is a quote, is direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life. Direct experiences of transcending mystery and wonder. To achieve that kind of direct experience requires us to get out of our heads and into our bodies, and fully engaging all our senses. Now, the good news here for us is that we are born with all the tools we need to be incarnate and enfleshed, if you will, in the world. I just had the sheer joy and pleasure of spending a week with one of our family members and with our newest grandchild, Benjamin, who is now 4 months old. And it reminded me of this fact that we're born with all the tools we need to be incarnate, embodied beings. Ben is just this little sponge right now. He just absorbs everything that comes at him. He spends his waking hours absorbing all the sights and sounds and tastes and smells that surround him. And of course, he's at that stage now where everything he grabs goes directly into his mouth. You remember that stage of babies? Feel and taste are his primary receptors at this point. And while he's still too young to make meaning out of the myriad new experiences each new day brings, he reminded me that the world is immediately available to me, to all of us. It's there to be taken in directly and without filters if we're present to it, and if we let our guard down. Watching Ben, I wondered what it would be like to taste a tree. And actually, there is a video. I'm not going to show the video, but this image was taken from a video of people who are tasting trees, if you can imagine. Or what it would be like simply to sit and stare as he does, curious and enraptured by the sight of some everyday object that I otherwise overlook in my daily embrained, unembodied existence. Miracles abound. Joy is available to us if we but open ourselves up to it, up to experiencing them with our bodies. If we but allow ourselves to be incarnate, to live in these miraculous bodies we've been given. That is one of the messages of this season. Whether it is a small vial of oil that keeps a sacred lamp burning for 8 days, or the rising of a star in the east that leads shepherds and wise men to kneel at the foot of a baby born in a manger, we can experience these miracles if we just allow ourselves to use our senses. And of course, it's not just a message for this season, it's a message for all seasons. Every day that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, with all the hours that stretch in between, where we walk each and every step on holy ground. It may be heresy to say so, but I'm not afraid to say that it was no wonder to me that God wanted to come to earth in the form of a human being, because here, in our own incarnation, is where all the joy is. And now I'd like to close with another poem, this one written by our beloved Saint Mary, Oliver that is. It's called Mindful. She writes, "Every day I see or hear something that more or less kills me with delight. that leaves me like a needle in the haystack of light. It was what I was born for, to look, to listen, to lose myself inside this soft world, to instruct myself over and over in joy and acclamation. Nor am I talking about the exceptional, the fearful, the dreadful, the very extravagant, but of the ordinary, the common, the very drab, the daily presentations. O good scholar, I say to myself, how can you help but grow wise with such teachings as these? The untrimmable light of the world, the oceans shine, the prayers that are made out of grass. May we all remember to observe and contemplate, to look, to listen, to lose ourselves inside this soft world, as Mary Oliver puts it, to instruct ourselves over and over in joy and acclamation. This day and every day, I wish you peace and love and joy. So we're going to rouse ourselves out of our seats now, and we are going to do some more movement along with Bob's offering of the hymn, When the Spirit Says Do. So I invite you here in the sanctuary to rise in body or spirit. Those at home, if you want to stand up too, feel free, and we will do some movement, right? What are we going to do for do? What did we decide for do? The movement?
Do.
Do. Oh, yeah, that's right. Do. So when the Spirit says do, right?
You got to do when the Spirit says do. You got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you got to do. Oh Lord, you got to do when the Spirit says do. 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 Dance, you got to dance when the Spirit says dance. You got to dance when the Spirit says dance. You when the Spirit says dance, you got to dance, oh Lord. You got to dance when the Spirit says dance. 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 Stomp! You gotta stomp when the Spirit says stomp. You got to stomp when the Spirit says stomp. You got to stomp, oh Lord. You got to stomp, oh Lord. You got to stomp when the Spirit says stomp. 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 You gotta clap. You gotta clap when the Spirit says clap. You got to clap when the Spirit says clap. Yeah, when the Spirit says clap, you got to clap, oh Lord. You got to clap when the Spirit says clap. 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 Now you gotta do when the Spirit says do. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you gotta do, oh Lord. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. 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 Spirit says do.
See, that's all about being embodied, incarnate.
Yes.
Yay. All right. Thanks for joining along. You can be seated if you're a little tired. or if you still feel like moving, feel free. And so now we are going to extinguish our chalice. Those at home, if you could join in saying these words. Actually, we can all join in saying these words that are on your screen. Although we now extinguish our chalice flame, may we hold its warmth in our hearts in all the days ahead. So I want to thank Chrissy and Bob for helping to lead worship today. I want to thank our hospitality team. We have, let's see, Sarah Dixon, Ann Seidman, Patty Hove, Mary Donnelly. Thank you so much. We have our tech team back in the booth. Thank you, Don, Patrick, Marilyn, John Davies, and Skip Seeloss. I think I got everybody in there. And thank you all for being here today to make this time special, both here and remotely via Zoom. And for those who are on via Zoom, I want to remind you that if you'll stay on and you want to join a breakout group, you'll be assigned one at the end of the service. And please, please, please remember, if you would, to fill out that survey about vaccination status. Do you want any other reminders, Chrissy? And sign up for Deck the Halls. It's going to be so much fun next Saturday. So, because of course we can't do Deck the Halls the way we usually do on Sundays in December. So, I would invite you all to rise in body or spirit again and join in saying our benediction. We hold our hands up for, if there's someone you're comfortable holding hands with, feel free to do that. But if not, we'll hold our hands up both in the room and remotely as we say these words. Come here seeking God.
Seeking God. May God go with you.
For those who come embracing life,
Return your affection.
For those who come to seek a path, may a way be found, and the courage to take it step by step. Blessed be.